Whether you pulled a muscle
Oh.
or need to boost your immune system, feeling better doesn't have to be hard. With express delivery from Walmart, you can get your health and wellness essentials delivered to your door in as fast as an hour. A healthier you wherever you are. Welcome to your Walmart. Restrictions and fees apply.
When you find a deal on your favorite thing in the McDonald's app and order it, does that technically count as online shopping? Save money with the app. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's, prices may vary.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Wholeheartedly with
Kendall
and Galey. We, as always, are so happy to be here and talk about things that we hope are valuable and additive and maybe a little bit funny, maybe No, what actually just happened there is that
what did happen, Katie?
I am eat, sleep, breathing rugs. If I blow my nose, rug fibers will come out. Like, that is where I'm at. The rug launch is happening. Well, you guys are listening to this after the fact. The rugs will already be launched, but we are recording this on Thursday and the rugs launch Friday. You guys are hearing this the following Wednesday, but I'm losing my mind. I'm in like the entrepreneurial like chaos right now. That's why I'm going to pass this over to Kendall.
First off, very, very proud of you, because for anybody that doesn't know, it's no different than if you're like, I don't know, you have even like a kid's music recital or like some event or something upcoming or like all the families coming for Thanksgiving. Launch day as an entrepreneur is simultaneously, it's like all of your family coming over to one place and everyone's judging you and you got one shot at it. So it's so stressful and you're overthinking everything and you're like, did we cross everything off the list? So mad respect. I will talk a little story. You can do that, girl. You can have your moment.
The stress sweat, call back to like episode 2, the stress sweat where it smells a little different. It's here and it's real. That's all I gotta say.
Well, the good news is that we're in a distance. I'm in California. You are in Florida. We are on two opposite ends of the country, so I can't smell you, and you look great. So at least you know you looking good.
There's definitely no smell. There's no boyfriend here to like smell it or be aware of it. So I'm just
perks of being single.
There's so many perks to being single. Like, it kind of makes me wonder if I even ever want to be in another relationship because I feel so free. And I love my life and I love the decisions I make every morning when I wake up. Like, what do I want to do? At night, like, where am I ordering Uber Eats from? Like, I don't have somebody judging me for eating candy in the middle of the day before I eat lunch. Like, it's so wonderful.
Wait, I mean, honestly, I'm in a relationship and I just do that crap anyway. And he's like, oh, you're special, honey. I'm like, yep, I am. And you get to deal with me. Speaking of, Alex came into my life and that dude buckled up and said, yeah, I'm down for whatever we're going to be doing. And I did not know that everything was going to pan out the way that it did with Peloton. I thought I was going to be there for at least another year. So lo and behold, we've been all over. We're on planes, trains, and automobiles. But we got this really cool opportunity. I posted on Instagram about like trying to find a place to stay in California because we thought we were going to be in like Los Angeles for a little bit. I knew the election was upcoming, right? And so I was like, okay, this is a nice moment to go out to this property in Joshua Tree and just like disconnect, all be together. This house, Galey, oh my God.
Oh, I saw it. It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous. It was straight, like the property that they were on, one, it was way down a dirt road. So my mom's got a Tesla, and let me tell you something, sorry, but it does not have the best shocks. So we are going down this long road all through the bumps. Yeah.
Do you get sick in Teslas? I cannot drive in a Tesla because I literally have to throw up every single time. And there's this like special mode you can put it in that's supposed to make it a little less, but I have positional vertigo, and every time you put me in a Tesla, even if I'm in the front passenger seat, unless I'm driving, I am down for the count. So I would not have survived that.
It was pretty kind of fun. We just kind of had to roll with it. But poor Alex gets that same thing. So the back seat, he was doing okay, but he got a little nauseous. We were all fine getting out there. But when I tell you this property was one of the most beautiful, peaceful, just thoughtfully designed spaces. The way that the space is designed called out to the native peoples that were on this land and still have this land as being sacred. There's also all this lore about aliens, and a lot of alien sightings are out here. I also think it's partly because people go to a Joshua tree and like they go to trip balls. Literally, they are on all types of stuff. People do shrooms out there. My family did not. However, how cool is this? We did do a family breathwork session.
Oh.
Isn't that cool? So my dear friend JR is a great breathwork practitioner, and he's in Palm Desert. And so he was like, yeah, I'll drive out. I love Joshua Tree. It's so special. It's such a spiritual, like beautiful place to connect with nature. And he's like, I'd love to do breathwork. So it was everyone else's first time doing breathwork. My mom, my dad, and Alex have never done it. I've done it quite a few times. I love it.
Of the people doing the breathwork, is there somebody that you thought wouldn't be able to take it seriously? Because whenever I do things like that, I'm always looking around like, I know somebody is not going to take this seriously.
What was cool, and I have to give like everybody credit, you know, my dad is newer to that kind of, not that it's a spiritual thing, but it's much more of a new form of wellness. And it's a great way to go about just resetting your body and resetting your nervous system. It's incredible. I highly recommend people do breath work, definitely in person if you can. My dad was super open-minded to it. And the coolest thing, at the end of the session, we all, you know, we're all relaxed, whatnot. JR, my buddy who owns Nexus Breath, who does this out here, is so good. And the music that he picked like made me tear up. At certain points, I was like, your body sometimes shakes, or sometimes you start to contract your hands because the breathing pattern is moving CO2 out of your body at a higher rate. So you have these like, it's like doing a hard reset on a computer. It kind of like clears out all of the pent up kind of chaos and some of the pent up cortisol. So your body responds to it. And it was such a beautiful experience. I was crying a little bit in a really beautiful way. It felt like a really nice release. And the coolest thing was getting to do all of that together. So you're laying down on a yoga mat and just doing this breathing pattern. And it's guided by your breathwork practitioner. And the way that my dad came out of breathwork and was like, wow, you know, my back always hurts. I mean, I always hurt, but I hurt a little less now. It's like, it's a win. It's a win.
So it really did relax his whole body.
It did. And my mom was just like, I feel so much more centered and less in my head. Alex enjoyed it. I think he was probably the most like, I'm not sure about it, which is kind of funny. But he really did enjoy it. And he was like, yeah, I feel great. He's like, but he's such an athlete. He's like, I feel like I wasn't breathing hard enough. Like, I know I could do it better next time. I'm like, dude, that's not the point of it. But yes, that can get more intense if you do different breathing patterns. But anyway, it was nice, like to have a moment to go out as a family to the desert with all the kind of chaos that's going on, and all of, you know, social media is an extra wild place lately. And it just has been really lovely to connect back with nature.
I think that's such a fun concept, right? Is that like anytime your family gets together, come up with something new to try and do together. I think there's something so bonding about it. And I will say, like, my parents have done such a good job ever since we were little of always finding things for us to do that are a little different. So last Thanksgiving, we found a zipline course and took the whole family for Thanksgiving on like a zipline course. And then my mom will.
Susie would never. Susie would
Really?
never. Oh my God, no. She hates heights. She would be screaming all the profanities your mom hates every 5 seconds.
She'd need to do some serious breath work throughout the whole zipline course.
She'd need breath work before and after and a spicy margarita. Like there ain't no way Susie's doing that. I would love it if she did. There's no way.
That's so shocking to me because she seems like such a baddie. I feel like I could see her on a Harley just like going off jumps.
She did have a boyfriend growing up. Oh my God, we all talk about it. And he had a bike, he had a motorcycle, and she was on the back of his motorcycle, and my grandpa was so pissed off about it. So that's what's funny. She's like got this duality of she's such a badass in certain ways, but then like if you even talk about snakes, or if you talk about heights or anything like that, no, absolutely not. Don't go there. Don't even talk about it. She doesn't even like snake print things. Like, it's hilarious.
Isn't that funny? We all have our little things. Like, you can be the strongest, most badass person, but if a roach, which in German it's called a kakerlake, and
it's called a kakerlake?
A kakerlake. So so like growing up, my dad, who's German, you know, spoke to us in German, would always talk about kakerlakas because my mom hated them. And my mom is so tough and strong and badass and female powered and like the loudest in the room, but in the best way. And just she'll be the first to stand on a table and dance. but that woman sees a kakalaka, she jumps like a baby into anybody's arms screaming. And so, but isn't that funny though? We all have these little things that, as strong-minded and physically capable as we are, just make us into the fetal position. Like, what's yours?
I really don't like spiders, but I've gotten better with them the last couple years. I now feel guilty killing anything. So even if I hate it, I'm like, oh, you're so ugly, but you deserve to live. Like, I try to find a way to put it outside. I know you're the same way with that. I would say I do have a kakalaka story. I really don't like cockroaches either. And rats. New York City gave me a deep fear of rats because when I first moved in, oh my God, I got the job at Peloton, right? And I was in this like short-term stay place, beautiful apartment. But in New York City, there's no way to not have mice and rats in your building. If it's an older building, older than like even 5 years old, they're going to be there. It's New York, okay? I had my contacts out. This was before I got LASIK. Best thing I've ever done in my life. Highly recommend. But I had my contacts out. I was in the training process for Peloton. I was exhausted. I was like super anxious and in my head about it because it wasn't going too hot, to be honest. I've talked about this. And sure enough, I had the TV on and I go to get up and I saw something shift across the room like a little shadow. And I'm like, girlfriend, is it the wine? Is it your head? I don't know what's going on. Then next thing you know, I look, I see something. You know how I am about bare feet, y'all. You know how I am about bare feet. A small mouse runs, or rat really, because it's New York City, probably has disease, runs directly over my bare foot. My bare foot. Runs. I scream. I have like a full-on panic attack. I'm reaching out to Airbnb and I'm trying to talk to the host. And I'm like, I need to get out of here now. I can't be here. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Full problems. And I get it, you guys. Like when you think of a mouse or like a field mouse or maybe a mouse in the forest or your kid's hamster, it doesn't feel like, why would she freak out like that? The vermin in New York City, like that could have the bubonic plague if it bit me. Okay. Like that thing is diabolical. So yeah, it's mice. Mice is my thing.
So, well, I feel like mice and rat, like that's the same thing, right? Rats just have like more hairless tails that are longer.
Oh, and they could be the size of cats like in New York. They're huge.
Ew.
They're huge.
I don't know about you, but I am so obsessed with getting a good night's sleep. There's so many things happening every day, so much stress, so much chaos. I cannot handle it if I haven't slept well. And the only thing more important than my mattress and my sheets are the clothes that I'm wearing. And that is why I'm so excited to share Dagsmion. I don't know if you've heard about it, and I definitely don't know if you can pronounce it, but you should buy it. And here's why. I've been sleeping in it for literally 2 months now. I love it so much, and I have OCD, so I don't like to sleep in the same thing every night because I always want fresh clothes. I love this so much that I will literally wear it 3 nights in a row without washing it just because I want to sleep in it again. It is so soft. It is so breathable. It's 50% lighter warmth than other fabrics. It's 4 times more breathable than cotton, and it's 2 times softer than cotton. And I feel like it's getting softer with every wash. I'm telling you, the merino pajamas from Dagsmion are 100% made in Europe with the highest standards in terms of workers, well-being, and environmental protection, which means I love what they stand for and how they run their business. Don't just take my word for it. Experience the difference yourself. Visit Dagsmion.com. That's DAGSMEJAN.com and use my code HEART at checkout for an exclusive 20% off your first purchase. That's code HEART at checkout. Sleep smarter, sleep deeper with Dagsmion. I love a great deal as much as the next guy or gal, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. I'm too efficient for that. It has to be easy, no hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. And we know how fun breakups aren't. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/wholeheartedly. There, you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your own phone number, along with all your existing contacts. Maybe leave behind the ones you don't like. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months off premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/wholeheartedly. That's mintmobile.com/wholeheartedly. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/wholeheartedly. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. I have a story, but for the story to make sense, I have to share somebody really quick. Just give me 1 second.
You guys, I just want you to know the anticipation of this is real. You're going to want to see this.
The baby. So this is my new family member. This is Bair.
Wait, what's her name? One more time. Spell it for the people.
Her name is Bair, spelled B-A-I-R. It's like Blair, but without the L. Because Charlie's name, is spelled a little different. So I wanted to give an homage to her. But this is our new family member because Patch is just absolutely devastated being alone and not having her sister here. And I'm devastated too. And this is the greatest surprise ever that showed up at my door a couple weeks ago. And I've just been protecting her in our time and not wanting her to be on social media or anything yet. I'm protecting my child's face from the world so that she can make her own decisions on whether or not she'd like to have a social media presence. So this is Bair. And what Bair did yesterday, Bair, do you want to tell the people? I let her outside in the backyard and she went back into kind of like the greenery area, and she came out. She ran past me really quick and I grabbed her and I picked her up. And when I looked at her face, she had a wet, dead rat in her mouth.
No. Wait, how did she catch that? Or was it already dead?
I think it was already dead, which means it definitely had bubonic plague and like pink eye for sure.
Oh my God.
We have SARS. I was holding. I have SARS.
Oh my God. Remember that? Damn. Okay, well,
I had to get a doggy poop bag and pull it out of her mouth with the bag around my hand because it was close, and she wasn't letting go. And I wasn't about to grab it with my bare hand. And that long little rope-like tail was swinging around, hitting me in the neck, and I couldn't do anything about it. And I don't know why, but the entire thing was soaking wet. Like all its hair was matted down. It was just disgusting. So Bair is, I just gave her a bath and brushed her teeth like 5 times. So that's where we're at.
So cute, and she's such a floof and good. I guess technically good job, girl. However, can I give I need a nickname for her. I have one. It popped in my head.
Oh, what is it?
Bair Waldorf.
Oh my God! Yes!
We have to get her a little headband. Oh my gosh,
I love it. Bair Waldorf.
Bair Waldorf, how are you?
That's totally her. I need to get her outfits now for sure. I love it.
Auntie is ready. Oh my God, she looks like a human.
I feel like boxers are to me, they have such human mannerisms and emotions, and they communicate with you, and they're known for boxing you. So like boxers will literally get up, like you saw the dogs are trying to punch you and Alex when you were here, like they're boxing. And I love you, so I guess I just love boxers.
You just love boxers, girl. It's on brand.
No briefs, just boxers here.
Well, as somebody who's putting out a rug collection, I was about to make a joke. I was like, does the carpet match the drapes? But I'm like, wait, the drapes aren't out yet.
The drapes are not out yet. The other really difficult thing about this little one is that I'm used to crate training, where you put them in the crate, when you leave, and it teaches them, to hold their bladder and helps them learn how to not pee in the house. And then when they're trained well enough, then I just like put the crate back in storage. And don't think about it. She refuses to go in the crate. And I have had to build up a barricade trying to keep her in the kitchen TV area with Patch when I go to do stuff. And every single time she has figured out how to like climb up the curtains and like MacGyver her way over this barricade. And it is, I mean, I have videos of it. Like Maria didn't believe me, and I put her on FaceTime, and she's like, she cannot possibly get over a 5-foot wall. Sure enough, within 30 seconds, she figured it out. And so I'm having a really hard time because I don't want to put her in the crate because she literally screams like you're murdering her.
Okay, I had the exact same issues with Bowie. If anybody out there is a really adept dog trainer or just knows stubborn dog children, one, I got Bowie during COVID, right? So I was living in 500 square feet, and that included the bathroom and the galley kitchen and the walk-in closet. So I was probably living in 275 square feet, which was where my bed, my green couch, everybody knows if you remember me from those days, and my TV was. So there was no place for a crate, even though I got one for Bowie. He refused. He would cry. I mean, the cry that he would cry was, it like pulled at every fiber of my being. And I'm like, I can't put him in here. It's like I'm torturing him.
Seriously.
I tried everything. And then I was trying to sleep. And then he'd hear me turn in the bed because we only had one small room that we lived in every day. And I was there 24/7. So to this day, that is one thing that I wish with Bowie. Granted, he is great. He can hold his bathroom. He's fine. But the problem is he always needs to be where everybody is. So he's a shadow and he needs to be a part of it. And there are moments when I'm like, I just want to have him settle down. And I wish I had a crate and I wish he liked the crate. But then he just freaks out. So if anybody has tips how to get these dogs to like crates, let us know.
I have done everything. I've tried, crawling in with her. I know you need to keep it smaller so that they don't feel like they're in a cave. She hated that. I put a blanket over it, but still with ventilation. She just ripped it right through the crate and then started screaming. And like the bed she lays on in there flips it over upside down. She shakes the whole crate so that it starts like waddling across the floor. And then I tried, feeding her individual every single piece of food.
Prioritizing the crate.
And I try to feed her in the crate. Like, this is a happy place. This is where she won't eat. She's like, get me out of here right now. And I'm just like, I don't. And I left her in there one time, I think for 2 hours just to see if she eventually would like fall asleep, and screamed the entire time. Her heart was racing. I feel like she's having a panic attack and never, ever went to sleep. And ever since then, I was like, all right, we can't do the crate.
It sounds actually like, as a dog, her trauma response is flight, and she likes to run away from things that are supposed to be good for her, or maybe just dealing with a place that's a little tough. So I know I want to bring this up. So we asked this on the WIG, and we're going to get to your answer soon. But given everything going on, trauma responses are very real, right? We've all heard of fight or flight. I'm very proud of myself. I practiced saying this, by the way, because I tried to say it the other night and I kept fumbling on the words. But the 4 different responses, there's now a 5th that people are starting to add, but the 4 psychologically denoted responses to trauma are fight, Dukes put them up, right? Flight, running away, freeze, just like freezing your tracks, playing dead kind of, or fawn. Now, a lot of people are saying flop is a new one. I think that's still a question mark. I don't think it's been like totally confirmed by psychology, but it's one that people are adding. But it's fight, flight, fawn, and freeze. And so I'm curious, Galey, we've both been through trauma. We all have big T traumas, little T traumas. It's part of life, right? That's how we grow, is through difficult things. But when it comes to traumatic situations for you, what's your normal response, or how often do you respond? Like, which of those?
It's so interesting thinking about these because I think I have different responses to different relationships.
For sure.
In a romantic relationship, I am flight. I am, and when you read who kind of falls into what, people that go into flight are usually easily distracted perfectionists, which is ADHD. Addicts, which, I think with my eating disorder history and my obsession with work, like I think I have a very addictive personality. It's never been to a substance, but it has it was to, well, I guess if food is a substance, then yeah. And then stays busy, which is definitely what I do when I'm trying to avoid something that is like hurting me. I just make my schedule really, really, really busy. So I don't have to
deal.
That's what I do in a relationship. However, in a work setting or with a girlfriend, I am fawn, which is a pleaser, somebody that acquiesces, who's codependent, silences and represses themselves.
Two things. One, I'm curious why you're different in romantic relationships than in work and female friendships. I think that's an interesting thing to note, one. And two, I know of an incident recent that we've talked about, but where does the fawning come in? Because we were talking about this on the phone and I was talking about fawning and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so seen.
So seen. I mean, we were talking about that situation and I was like, I've said it before, I will cut off my leg to avoid a confrontation with a girlfriend or a work colleague. I'm not gonna say hate, but like I don't love that part about myself. But I think because of my CDO, whenever I'm in conflict with somebody or I'm wondering if they're upset with me or I'm upset that they did something that hurt my feelings, it's on loop. And it gets into this loop in my head and I spin and spin and spin. And I can't let it go and I can't release it. And I actually make it so much bigger than it even is. And honestly, it might not even be a thing because the other person might not have even realized or meant to hurt my feelings or whatever.
Yeah, but you're so far down that trail.
Exactly. And I've now like ingrained it in my brain as factual because I've like retraced that step so many times. It's now permanently sealed in my brain. And so what ends up happening is I know that I react that way and it takes me out at the knees. And so anything I can do to avoid a situation where somebody's upset with me or my feelings are getting hurt or whatever, I will do it so that I don't get stuck being sad or angry about something I'm never going to tell them about. I'm never going to talk about.
But then it's internal in you. That's what's really interesting is like, with all these trauma responses, and I'm more than happy to talk about mine because it's very enlightening and also something. Oh, I know. We'll get to mine. Trust me, we will. I know I have a few, but I think a couple of things. When we think of fawning, right? I think part of it is like as women, we're often in situations where we're the less physically dominating presence. And so we've kind of learned, especially with men and in uncomfortable situations in dating, or if even men are looking at us or talking to us in a weird way. And I'm not saying like all men are terrible, but we've all had these uncomfortable experiences from the time pretty much we become teenage girls where we just kind of flirt back or just, oh, thanks so much. Or, oh, I love your shoe. Just trying to find a way to minimize ourselves and to please so that we're safe to move on. And so it's interesting too, how I think that does come up in female relationships as well, because we're kind of aware of the fact, look, women can be really, really awful to each other. And there's what they say to your face. And then there's a lot of times what's said behind the back. And I really respect how difficult it is and the courage that it takes as a woman to tell another woman how you made her feel and how she feels in the situation. I think that's something I'd love to see more of. It's something I definitely want to do and try more to do when someone upsets me, or particularly any of my female friendships. My closest friendships, I've been able to say, hey, this really hurt my feelings. And I assume you probably didn't mean it that way. And I know that we have a deep friendship, but this isn't working. But it's hard because you need two people to want to have that conversation.
But that's probably why it works with your closest friends, because you guys are so close because you both want it. That's why it's lasted so long and had those intimate, deep conversations. So you feel like you trust that you can say something and they'll know it's coming from a place of you wanting to make it better. So the point you just made about fawning, it is so true, because we were literally talking about what if a serial killer comes after us in the last episode. And I was like, well, you could just try and like convince them that you're into them and you want to date them. And like, maybe they'll believe that you could be a thing and then they won't kill you. And I'm like, that's my fawning response. I'm like, I'll just like flirt with the serial killer because I know I can't physically fight him. Like I'm not going to outpace him, chances are. And so like fawning is, like that is kind of what we have left. So I think a lot of women go to that. At least I do.
Interesting with fawning too, though, is like whenever you're pleasing somebody else and it's not in alignment with who you are and your truth, you end up carrying the burden of that action, right? So like I'm telling somebody that, oh, no, it's fine. You're so special. This is great. Look at how great you are here and did this. And wow, I know that I'm being dishonest or I'm manipulating the situation to get me out of it. And then I bear the burden of, oh God, I feel so guilty because I had to say that or do that to get out of these things. And I think it actually can be so diabolical because it makes you question your own integrity. And it makes you question which voice is the most loud in your head. Am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing this because I'm just trying to save myself? And it can get very gray area. I don't know. I think in fawning responses and in people-pleasing responses, which I've totally done, I think we all do at certain times and phases. And sometimes it's the path of least resistance, but it's important to also find a way to resist that or a way to take stock in what that behavior was so that you can move forward and you don't hold on to that as your own self-identity, because it can become kind of addicting to fawn.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's the easy way out, right? It's the path of least resistance. Because if you freeze, which is another reaction to trauma, if you freeze, you still have to confront it. If you freeze, like they're not getting an answer, the problem is still there. They go try, and you're not doing anything. But if you fawn, you're trying to take away the power and the intensity of the situation and just make it better so it's a non-issue.
But it becomes exactly. And both of them.
And then you absorb it.
Yeah. And then you absorb the issue rather than trying to rectify the issue. Now, the other side of it, which, I mean, my trauma response, y'all.
Kendall, we gonna talk about your fighter, right?
Oh, I'll own it. Y'all, I'm a fighter. And I don't mean that in a positive way. It's something about myself that I don't always love. I'm a very passionate person. And when I feel as if someone, something, or myself is being wronged or put into a corner, I will fight back. I think a lot of that comes from growing up in the film industry, having a lot of people. I would fawn for a really long time. And I would just try to be perfect and try to do everything straight A's and, be the good girl on set, like get them out of there early. Time is money, save them money, be a great, I held myself to these really high, really difficult standards for any kid or any teenage girl to do that. And then when my mental health took a turn senior year of college and I completely broke and I went into just a really dark place and had to build my way out of that, I started finding my voice. And what's interesting is when you start to find your voice, you're really loud. It's kind of like you have, God, my therapist told me this once, you guys, this was honest, but brutal, but honest. She goes, listen, your words and your power is like fire. But she goes, we don't need a wildfire that burns everything. We need a flamethrower that's strategic. And we need to find how to give you tools that you can use that fire when needed, but you don't have to burn everything in sight. And it's something I've learned a lot about. It's something I'm still working on. Even this week, there's a lot of social media is wild and there's a lot of anger and hatred on social media right now. And I so want to fight back, but I want to fight back and be like, I'm going to fight and I'm going to out logic you and I'm going to explain this in the argument because I do care, because I do want people to see their own value so they're not trying to take away others. But I have to learn when to not fight. And sometimes it's so my knee-jerk response. Like my family is like, or even Alex, he's like, oh, you're sassy. That's a really polite way of saying, damn, you're being a bitch, which I'm aware of. But it's tough. I will hunker down and fight, but sometimes you can fight to the point that you're only fighting with yourself. And then I absorb that negative energy of that and have to carry that burden of my outburst or my angst, Hey listeners, what's up? Whether you love true crime, comedy, celebrity interviews, news, or motivational speakers, or, Galey and I over here at Wholeheartedly, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue, right? And guess what? Now you can call the shots on your auto insurance as well. Enter the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. The Name Your Price tool puts you in charge of your auto insurance by working just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for your car insurance, and then they'll show you a variety of coverages that fit within your budget and gives you options. Now that's something you want to press play on. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to choose the best option for you, fast. It's just one of the many ways you can save with Progressive Insurance. Quote today at Progressive.com to try the Name Your Price tool for yourself and join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
I don't know if you've ever had that friend that you feel like you can just talk to about anything and the conversations just flow. And then for some reason, at the end of it, you just feel so inspired to take action in your life or think of things in a different way. That is what happens to me every time I talk to Kendall. You probably watch it in real time. You probably listen to it in real time on the podcast. That's me learning and getting inspired. But I love podcasts that make you feel and then make you want to act. And that's why I want to share this amazing podcast, The Silver Linings Handbook. It's a weekly podcast just like ours, where host Jason Blair interviews interesting people from all walks of life. The best way to think of it is maybe not so much as a podcast, but more like conversations that will inspire you or interesting conversations with interesting people. I feel like it could easily be named that as well. Something also that I love about this is there's so much credibility behind Jason because he's a former journalist. Something I also love about this is the credibility that Jason brings to the table because he is a former journalist who worked at the New York Times, the Boston Globe, the Washington Post, and other newspapers. This podcast is about mental health, and he's bringing empathetic perspective with amazing interviews with incredible people and really brings to light suffering, recovery, and just finding opportunities to help other people and learn and grow from their experience and how it applies to yours. To subscribe to the Silver Linings Handbook, just go to anywhere that you listen to podcasts and look up the Silver Linings Handbook. You won't regret it. Fire is a very powerful natural element. It can heat, warm your house, and at the same time, it can burn your house to the ground. There's so much that can be done with fire for better and for worse. And so I think that the more you're able to identify kind of what this is like Captain Planet, right? Like earth, wind, water, fire, right? And then we all come together and we are Captain Planet. Yep. I think that if you can identify what yours is, right? Like yours is fire. Mine is, what would my element be? Water. It's like calming and trying to fix everything.
Yeah, flight would be wind.
Yeah, flight would be wind. What would
Earth would be earth because you just burrow into the earth.
Yeah, totally. So it's almost like they're the natural elements, but you know, not to make this like a geographical pod, but I think we just became that.
A little esoteric, guys. Wow.
Wow. So I think that if you can figure out what your power is and how to harness it so that it doesn't reverse back into you and then you're setting yourself on fire, or me, like I literally drown myself. I drown myself with the overflowing of these thoughts and the spinning and them not wanting to make it a thing so that I don't spin on it and drown in it even more. And like, I'm creating the flood, right? I'm creating the flood of water with my element. So
yeah, drowning yourself with the concerns of other people.
Yeah. And so I think it's just kind of figuring out, to your point, like what it is and when to hold back. Like I've been so proud of you on social media because I feel like it's so, everything is just so divisive. And if you're a fighter, it's really hard not to fight back because it's so easy because they just jab. And if you're a fighter, you feel like you're just sitting there taking it in the face and you're not doing anything. But I think there's so much power into being the bigger person and not fighting back. I think you try to help back. You don't ever really fight back.
Yeah, I definitely try to help back. But then sometimes if people don't want to hear things, they don't want to hear things. And that's okay. And that's part of life, is like, we can't expect to walk through the world and not be offended or not be upset or not have other things happen to us that are going to call up uncomfortable and uncertain emotions. The only thing that we really can control is how we respond in those situations. But to get ourselves to a healthy response, and I know this for myself, to get myself away from being in such a fight response all the time, I know I need to take care of my mental and my physical with disciplined practices, like the gratitude journaling, like getting off of social media at times or taking a walk or creating art any way, shape, or form is really helpful. And then it gives you another tool to go to rather than that immediate knee-jerk response that each of us have, depending on the situation.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, again, like that's kind of figuring out what works for you and then, deploying it when you need it. For me, creating literally saved me from myself, like creating a home for other people. That was how when my fiance left me and I had a really awful, truly deadly eating disorder trying to kill me, which was me trying to kill me. And I needed to recover from heartbreak, from mental health, and from, losing my job because I left it to get married and then was left right before the wedding. So then I had to go back to Goldman and ask to get my job back.
Hey guys, circling back, can we reverse that? Can we reverse that?
I literally asked Goldman to reverse Uno me after telling them about my mental health issue because I was like, I'm going to be honest about everything. And so
Wait, were they supportive of that? That's interesting. I didn't realize that Goldman knew about what you were dealing with mentally.
Yeah, I called my boss and I told him what had happened and what I was struggling with and that I was getting help for it. And instead of not wanting me, which is what happened in my relationship, when I opened up about me not being okay, like he didn't want to be with me anymore, which it's a deeper story. And I definitely take responsibility for hiding that I was battling for so long. And that was not honest of me. But here I am fawning again. But we're working on it. But I was very honest with him and he was like, okay, how do I help you find resources? Like, we'll figure this out and we'll do everything we can to help you get your job back. And, Goldman was a family to me, and they, as Wall Street and corporate as you want to call them, I did not experience that. They took me in, which is why you'll never hear me say a negative word about working for them or that place.
That's really rare. And I think that two things that happened that kind of struck me from that. One, being able to be honest and do that self-reflection about where you're at and what you need. It is like the scariest thing in the world to admit, especially for somebody that's very intelligent and high performing, to admit that there's something that's a bit awry or something that is deeply wrong that you now have to take on that journey. That's a huge step. But then on top of it, how beautiful is it that being able to be honest with somebody about where you're at and giving them that slice of vulnerability? You can't control how people are going to respond to that, but the right people do respond in such a supportive way. And that is actually what puts you on the path you need to be on. And I really hope people listening to this remember that there's so much power in not hiding things. There's so much power in being honest about things. And sometimes when we speak, it comes out wrong. I know that happens to me often, and I have to course correct. And I have to say, hey, this is actually how I meant this. I'm taking accountability for this. This is what's going on. Doesn't make it okay, but here we are. Being able to do that is what builds relationships, but it's also what helps you move forward and it helps you evolve as a human being. And I think there's so much pressure on everybody right now to show up perfectly and never say the wrong thing and never make a mistake. And if you do, it's game over and your career is going to be up in arms, or this is going to be this, or this is going to be this. I'm not saying not to have accountability for your actions and things that you need to grow for, but I do think we all have to remember that we're human beings having this experience for the first time. And we're dealing with all of the things from our past and trying to evolve and sift through the world. And so if somebody is being open and honest about where they're at, even if it's difficult, even if it's not pretty, that deserves such respect. And all right, let's link arms and come together, because that's how we're going to get past some of these trauma responses, is by being able to understand this is part of who I am and this is what I do, but it's not defining of who I am. It's just something I'm working on.
I think my favorite thing, which is so relatable to the first thing you said, is that secrets keep you sicker. The more secrets you have, the sicker you are able to be in your mind, in your life, in your relationships. And so I think everybody's got like at least one deepest, darkest secret, right? Like think really hard about your life, about you, about something you've done or something even just that you've thought that you aren't proud of. And like that might be your deepest, darkest secret. And you don't want to tell it to anybody. What happened to me was that my deepest, darkest secret, which was that I was extremely unhealthy with food behind closed doors. I did not, I was going to go to the grave protecting that. Nobody was ever going to find out. It was just a thing that was inside of me and I couldn't fix it. I couldn't get rid of it, but I could still be very, very high functioning, closing $1 billion for my firm and giving speeches and building this home and having relationships.
Yeah, you were fronting for sure.
But I was truly dying with my eyes wide open on the inside and I didn't know how to fix it because the person I had to beat was me. And I know that I win everything. And so I was like, well, I can't beat me because she wins. So you just have to literally sit back and like ride this terrifying train. And so what ended up happening that has given me so much clarity and freedom to be honest in my life now is that the thing that I was going to protect to my grave, my deepest, darkest secret, it came out and I told it to my fiance and I got rejected for it. And then I now needed to explain to my family and Goldman, like why the relationship was over and why I needed my job back. And I just learned in that situation that because I kept that secret so long, it literally destroyed my life, like seam by seam, everything, just the home, the engagement, the family we were trying to build, all just fell apart. And so now I have realized that it didn't kill me. My worst secret came out and I still was able to like breathe and wake up in the morning and have a life and get a job again. And I was like, you know what? Instead of just keeping things to myself from now on and letting them get really big and scary and life-threatening, I'm just going to be honest about it.
Yeah. That's what's interesting about this is that those darker, shadowy parts of ourselves, those deep, dark secrets, we're so afraid if someone sees us, we're afraid that it means that the confirmation that we're unworthy is going to come up.
Yes.
It totally stems back to unworthiness and shame. And it still is for me today. Like there's part of me like, oh my gosh, if all these people are upset at me on the internet, like, am I letting these people down? Am I not worthy of having this platform? Am I not worthy of like showing up for it? Like we can all go back to that. We all will go back to that deep, dark secret and it will find its way to, it's almost like this like crazy figure that keeps morphing into something new. It's like a new boss or a new same root, different flower, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that is like being able to allow people into your muck and into your mess is the only way that it gets restored. The only way that you heal is by showing the wound. I mean, we know this, right? You're from a family of medicine. Alex's family is from medicine. My dad's family is from medicine. The only way you fix a wound is you got to go in there. You got to clean it out. You got to get rid of the infection. You got to do a lot of uncomfortable things. And then you stitch it up. And then you wait, and then it's time, and it's taking care of things. And if something else comes up, you go back and you have to fix it. But you cannot heal a wound without cleaning it out and seeing it in the light for everything that it is and everything that it's not. And I just want everyone to know, like, nothing is too bad or too dirty or too awful or anything you've done or how you think about yourself would ever be too much to not be able to be worth what's ahead and what's next. And not a thing. And I'm a big believer in that, you know, and a lot of people go to a faith perspective with that. I know that's a big one for me that's helped, but there really is no secret too dark or no part of you too messed up that isn't worth having a full, lovely life. But you just got to walk through that battle and you have to walk through that walk and you got to ask for help.
And I think it's so apropos because we're coming up towards the end of the year. And I think this is when people start feeling like they can have a fresh start. And they can clean the wound and make something else of themselves. Like sometimes you feel like you are being buried, but really you're just a seed that was planted. You just need a little water and sunlight and you'll realize you weren't just buried 6 feet under, you were planted and something great is going to grow from this. And I hate to get so like analogous and stuff, but it's okay. It's so true though, right? Like you just have to reframe it. And I love what you're saying about opening up to people because the only way you're going to build a really close relationship to another human being is if you both are able to see each other's wounds and accept you with all of that. Like vulnerability breeds vulnerability. You share, then they share, or vice versa. But it is how you get so close. And at the end of the day, your relationships on earth, like while you're here, that's what makes life or doesn't make a lot of life, you know?
I truly think vulnerability and the gap that vulnerability creates, the hole in a sense that vulnerability creates, is the direct entrance for love. Like the only way you can know true love is when you allow yourself to be so vulnerable and be seen in such an honest, frightening way that the only thing that heals that is love. And it's the love of other people. It's the love that you'll start to find back towards yourself. It's the love that your community can give you. But really, if you want to experience honest, incredible, life-changing, real love, which I think is why we're all here, the only way through it is to be vulnerable and to like let that be seen. So when you have those trauma responses, it's okay, but then get back to that source, like get back to why are we responding that way and how can we take a moment and reflect and say, oh, okay, this is how I'm responding to this situation. Where is the opportunity for my vulnerability to be shown so that we can let love in?
So speaking of trauma responses, what was so interesting is when we put up the Q&A on the wig, you guys had so many responses, and just take a second, guess in your mind, which do you think was the most popular?
The most popular trauma response of fight, flight, fawn, freeze. There is flop in there, but I don't.
A couple people said flop.
I mean, I feel like I flop on the weekends because I just need a break and I'm just like flop on the couch and binge watch a show.
So I was really surprised, but the number one by far answer was freeze.
Yeah.
So many of you said freeze or flight, and then there were some flight and fawns, but the most common was freeze and then flight.
Yeah. So it's stopping everything you're doing and feeling petrified. The way that I think of the freeze trauma response is like a deer in headlights, right? And it's that moment. If anybody has driven a car, the only reason why I know this was having built that cabin in Pennsylvania. Otherwise, I would not have had a lot of experiences with deer in roads. But when I tell you one of my number one fears is driving on a road and having a flock of deer just come through, because they act all kinds of crazy. Like they will just park their little cute white tails in front of your car going 60 miles an hour and just stare at you while you're driving and be like, you figure it out. It's like, wait, what? And so there's a lot of accidents and stuff that happen on some of these big freeways. If anybody is from an area that has a ton of deer, you know what this is like. You're like, oh, it's the bane of our existence. It's so tough to deal with. And it's scary when you're driving at night. And I think the freeze response is exactly that. You're a deer in headlights. You're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. I have nothing. Just frozen in time. And then whatever the force is that's coming at you, it's the force's job to figure it out, which that's a heck of a gamble, y'all. That is a heck of a gamble.
That is such a great point. When you freeze, you're putting it into what's the person that would be doing it? Like,
oh, the antagonist.
If you freeze, you're at it, girl. If you freeze, you are giving the antagonist all of the power, because they are going to determine if they hit you, if they go around you, if they stay there and keep attacking you, like whatever it is, like you're giving them the power, which is scary, but I also kind of get it, you know,
I understand it. I do. I think what's helpful in that note, and I learned this, God bless Mel Robbins. I love that woman so much, but she has that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the countdown, and then take action. So that's a way to get you out of the freeze response, is if you know you're freezing, you're like, oh my God, what do I do? It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you move, and then you make a choice. That is such a helpful tool and tactic. It's so helpful even like if you're having trouble getting out of bed or you're just doom scrolling TikTok or anything like that. It's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then new action, new input. It's such a wonderful way to move out of these responses.
I like that. That's kind of like self-hypnosis. Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm out.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to read some of these.
This response really moved me. She said fawn. Silence, to make yourself as little as possible, to not take up space. Dang, this hits hard. That's what she said. I think that's so true when you consider part of the fawning response isn't necessarily just flattery to get out of things. It could also just be minimizing yourself, dimming your light so much so that the other person doesn't feel as threatened.
Sweetheart, what about this one? Nah, fam. That's a little sus.
Shopping with teenagers can be hard between figuring out what they like and what they mean. But with Walmart, at least shopping for their next pair of glasses is easy. With the Walmart app, you can virtually try on frames at home, upload prescriptions, and get new glasses delivered right to your door. It's an easier way to get stylish glasses they'll actually like.
Now these new glasses, total vibes.
Buying new glasses has a new look. Welcome to your Walmart. Valid prescription required.
Oh, that is so true. That is, I think so many of us do that too.
Yep. Making yourself smaller so that you're not a threat to other people. And I think what's in practice, yes, it can get you out of an immediate situation, but the long-term blowback of that is that you're going to start thinking you're smaller than you are, right? You are what you believe. So if you're acting small, you're going to shrink yourself. If you're acting larger than you are, you're going to expand yourself. And that's a slippery slope.
That is so slippery. But what's hard too is that, part of minimizing yourself and making it so that you're not seen also takes you out of the potential threat of being called out or attacked or accused or whatever. So as long as I'm not seen, right? There's people on social media that will never post a single thing or a picture just because they don't want, not because they don't want anyone to see them, but if somebody sees them, then they have the opportunity and the freedom to put an opinion or say something. And I know we're feeling that really heavy lately. So I think it takes some balls. It takes some cojones to grow and put yourself out there and put yourself at risk and be allowed to be seen. And then it takes even more balls to put yourself out there and be seen and be so honest about your pain points and the things that make you vulnerable and the things that can really hurt your feelings. And so,
but that's where true human connection comes from. And I think that's the payoff, right? It's what's the point of doing these things? What's the point of overcoming our trauma responses, right? What's the point of putting myself out there? Really? If you want deep, incredibly human, fulfilling relationships and life experiences, it's because you took that risk. It's because you allowed yourself to be seen. It's because you failed publicly. It's because you might have made a mistake and had to course correct, or you said the wrong thing, or what you did was great and then someone doesn't like it. Whatever it is, that's the hard part about being human. It's the tough stuff too. It's the uncomfortable stuff. And that's what gives you seasoning. That's what makes you have, nobody likes a bland steak. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. My mom loves a bland steak. Some people like bland meat. Okay. I don't.
Okay. I this one I thought was important because it's so true. So she wrote freeze because her parents never talked about or acknowledged feelings, and she's trying to reverse it with her own kids. And it's so true that your trauma response, quite honestly, is probably in part tied to how you handled emotions or were taught to handle emotions or how you saw your parents handle emotions when you were a child.
Yeah. There's another one. Yeah, it's the same thing because someone said flight and freeze. I'm scared of people leaving because I was emotionally left as a kid.
I love you, babe. That actually makes my heart hurt physically.
That does. And it is true. It's when we're children, we're building up these tactics because we're just doing what we can. And that does carry with you. It doesn't change, right? It's kind of the programming that's in your brain as a kid. And then you have to deal with upgrading that programming as an adult. And so coming to terms with some of your responses to things are such a wonderful pathway, but they can be a difficult pathway to walk because then you have to acknowledge what happened in the past. Whoever wrote that, I'll send you a hug.
Serious, the biggest hug with our whole hearts. Here's another one, fawn and freeze. I think as a kid, by pure coincidence, I found out that the strategy kept me safe then. And then another one, freeze, because of my crazy upbringing. I was scared of everything because of neglect. So much of this is just rooted in childhood. And so I think the lesson there is that, if you're raising children now, be hyper aware of the impact of how you're raising them and the lessons that you're teaching them and how they're handling their emotions are going to impact them as adults. And also then introspectively look at your own self and maybe some of that came from childhood. At the end of the day, I just feel like trauma responses are all kind of rooted in something, and that something seems to be our childhoods. Okay. Well,
No, I know. I'll take the I know. You're in launch mode. That was for the record. I'm gonna give you words of affirmation. I appreciate your vulnerability for you to share what you shared because it's important. I think it's important to understand that like my favorite thing. Everyone's annoyed at me for saying this because I've said this a lot, and for the last couple months, two things can be true at the same time, and it's a great way to understand that like your parents or your upbringing, they can completely love you and they could have done their absolute best and express their love the way they know how. But it could also be that you needed something a little bit different too. And it doesn't mean anybody's at fault. It just means, oh, this is what it is. And now I have the awareness as an adult now, as I'm taking care of my own needs, to find a way to fill that or to find a way to heal that or to find a way to just even acknowledge it as huge and have that awareness. So I know you are exhausted. I know I am baking in this sunspot in my parents' living room with the tree that I rearranged so it looked okay. Y'all, I cannot wait for my damn Florida house to be done, and Galey's going to be the one doing it, so it's going to be gorgeous. And when I tell you, like, I'll be sitting in the same place with the same beautiful background and great quality, it'll be awesome. But you know what? Two things can be true at the same time, and you can be a little bit of a loopy-doopy mess, which is me current, and also be hopeful for this future. And so thank you guys for taking the time. Galey, the rugs are out. By the time you're hearing this, her rugs are out. I can't wait. I'm obsessed. They're beautiful, girl. They're stunning.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're on Amazon, Wayfair, Home Depot, Rugs Direct. They are literally everywhere. And I could not be more proud of the price points and the quality and the beauty that they are. So I'm going to go back into rug life right now because launch is tomorrow morning, but it's live for you guys listening to this now. And I will probably be sleeping like into 48 hours of sleep when you guys are listening to this pod. So may the force
happy for you. I love that. It's like that song Candy, except it's just sleep and candy and puppies. Honestly, it sounds like a sleepover. I love it.
Wait, we need a song name.
Y'all, we're just going to keep it straight and to the point when it comes for the song. One of my favorite artists is this rapper by the name of NF. If you've taken my classes, you know I play him all the time. He's got a song called Trauma, and it is so on point and a great part of a workout playlist. So go ahead. We are going to go with Trauma. Yes, Galey, by NF.
Oh, I think that is the perfect song because this was all about trauma. So we're going with it. And guys, we're going to skip over the what we're working on this week because I think it's very obvious what we're working on with our trauma responses. So think about your trauma and how you can work on it. We love you guys with our whole hearts. And if you want to help us keep doing this, like, subscribe, comment, all of the things. It helps us so much. So have the best rest of your week. And my rugs are available. Go shop. All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Right now, the American Red Cross is helping and supporting people across the Southeast living with the heartbreaking destruction from Hurricanes Milton and Helene. And with their partners, American Red Cross will be helping for weeks and months to come. Families affected by Hurricanes Milton and Helene need your support. Your donation can help the American Red Cross provide meals, shelter, and hope to people when they need it most. Please donate today. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to donate. Every dollar you can spare helps more than you can imagine. Your support is critical. We cannot do it without you. Donate today at redcross.org.
Steering clear of sick days doesn't have to be hard. Walmart has no-cost vaccines for things like the flu, COVID, pneumonia, and more. So you can keep up with your immunizations without making an extra stop. Your pharmacy wherever you are. Welcome to your Walmart. $0 copay with most insurances. State, age, and health restrictions apply.